Hi guys, Kim here. Welcome to Backyard Blooms. Look how gorgeous these jumbo amaryllises are. I have a video where we potted these up, so if you want to see how these amaryllises are potted up, you can make sure you watch that video. But today I have an exciting video for you. I have 5 different content creators that are on YouTube and Instagram. They're going to share their inspiration of what their art of gardening is. So I'm very excited. The very first one is mine, of course, and I'm not going to do a whole huge introduction because most of you guys know who I am, but I do live in Charlotte, North Carolina, Zone 8 if you're new to me, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe my video because it lets YouTube know that I'm doing a good job, and it lets me know that I'm doing a good job as well. Hi guys, Kim here. Welcome to Backyard Blooms. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, Zone 8, and I have been gardening in this garden for the last 5 years. I got all my inspiration from Laura with Garden Answer, and when I went to Austria, and I fell in love with all the formal gardens and symmetry. So of course I am sitting right here in my formal garden. I have 4 different types of David Austin roses that surround me, along with the sprinter boxwoods, and I love this area, and I love to sit in this area as well. So today I want to talk about the art of gardening. Just like this canvas, it was a blank canvas, and my garden was a blank canvas. So every time we plant a tree or a shrub or a perennial or any type of annual, we are creating something on our canvas. So on our canvas, we want to make sure we have structure and layering and textures and lots of different colors, right? So that is what we're getting when we paint on a canvas. So the first garden that I created on my canvas was called my hydrangea garden, and I like layers of 3. I like something that's got some height, and that's where my emerald green arborvitaes came in, and then I like something that has a medium length to it as well, and that's where my little lime hydrangeas came, and then I like something that's on the ground cover. So on my ground cover I have the lemon coral sedum, and I have some hardy geraniums in that garden as well. And then the next garden that I created a canvas with is my rose garden. So I have 4 different types of David Austin roses in my garden. I have Gabrielle Oak, I have Boscobel, Alexandra of Kent, and Eustacia Ive in this garden as well. And then I love, of course, the sitting area that this area provides, and I have a fire pit where I can enjoy some fire if I want to in those cold, chilly nights. And then the next garden that we created on our canvas, I call my cottage garden, which my cottage garden is starting to change a little bit into more of a shade garden because my cryptomeria trees are quite large now, and they're creating quite a bit of a shade. So I really had fun in that garden with just types of little whimsical stuff. So I have lots of the Walkerlow nepeta. I have lots of Gara, lots of echinacea. I have lots of daylilies in there, and I'm just wanting to pack that area full with lots of colors, textures, and layers in that garden as well. So my very front garden, I love to play around with lots of color, and I specifically like to play around with petunias. So I'm going to throw pictures up of the last 4 years that I have mass planted lots of petunias, and I absolutely love it. I want everybody to drive by and say, oh my gosh, this is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And I always play around with different seasons too. So I always throw up my tulips in the springtime, which I'm going to show images of all my tulips for the last couple of years. And then I'm also going to show you summer pictures. And then I also like to play around a little bit in the fall too with some fall colors as well. And in my skinny side garden on the side of the house, I like to play around with color there as well. So I'll always leave a little bit of long strip for different types of annuals. And I've only been gardening in that garden for the last 2 years, and I'm going to throw images of that as well. So for the last summer, I had some gorgeous Blue My Mind evolvulas in that area, and I had some surefire begonias, and they were absolutely gorgeous. So in 2023, we created a brand new garden on the west side garden, and I pretty much planted that garden up to prevent erosion. So I have lots of shrubs, some trees, and lots of bulbs in that area. So I'm very excited to share all the different daffodils and tulips that I have growing in that garden for you this spring. So I hope this video gave you some inspiration. I hope you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Like I said, I'm Backyard Blooms with Kim, and I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And I'll see you in all my next videos. Bye, friends. So the second content creator that I'm going to talk about, her name is DeBorrah, and she is on YouTube, and her channel is called Inspiring Garden Corner, and she lives in Georgia, and she is zone 7B. And I really related to DeBorrah because she has had a daughter that was in the military, and of course my son is in the military, but she passed away 10 years ago. And she uses her garden as therapy as well, which, you know, I think we all can use our gardens as therapy. But every year she plants a rose for her daughter, which I think is it just breaks my heart that she had to go through that, but it's so inspiring as well. So make sure you take a look at DeBorrah's garden.
I made a point of making sure that my yard looked pretty. How our outside look was a reflection of our values. And it was important to me because I saw it as a artful way to express myself and my taste. So what I started doing was looking at gardening with an artist's eye. And even though I cannot draw other than a stick person, it allowed me to envision layers, textures, color, depth, and touch when choosing, you know, how you want your garden to reflect your style or how it makes you feel. And those tend to be, you know, my guide as far as gardening. My gardening style is very structured. I enjoy planning things out. I am not a last minute person. That old saying, what gets written gets done, is how I approach my garden or my gardening, even though my husband says it's more of a control freak in me. Now, my first garden was small, you know, because I wanted to make sure that it was something that I would be able to manage, and initially started off with roses and daisies. Now, gardening has also become a healing for me because 10 years ago, we lost our oldest daughter who was in the military, and I plant a rose every year in honor of her. And that in itself has heightened my love of gardening and has grown. So when we moved to Georgia, I loved it for the simple fact that I got a longer growing season. Plus, now I have more options for my plant choices. And I've learned in the 7 years of being down here how to amend this Georgia clay, because we know this Georgia clay don't play, you know? And I sit here and I think of where I'm at in my garden journey, and then us doing this collaboration. Sometimes it's about timing, you know, how things line up for you, and to be able to do this collaboration on the art of gardening is so on point in regards to my garden vision for this year. Now, I know last year I did my bulb video where I spoke of what I wanted this garden to represent for this year. And I'll post the link to that video in my description. But this is the thing. When I looked at the choices that I was picking, it spoke to me in regards to creating my perception of reminiscence of romance. For, you know, seeing that that's my theme for my garden. When I have the thought process of when creating a romantic garden, there are staples or essentials to allow you to build on that foundation. And I think I have a good foundation in my current garden to add on to create that feel of reminiscence of romance. I have over 50 hydrangeas, over 40 roses, whether climbing, standard, just a nice array of roses. And I think those are the things, like I said, that allows for a good foundation to start expounding on my endeavor to create a garden that is reminiscent of romance. Now, when I think of those, those other things that can enhance the attributes and the feel of your garden, I do believe that, the things that you end up creating to have that definition, that feel of what you're looking for, your garden to speak to you, whether it is a vegetable garden, a gazebo, hydrangeas, roses. And as you can see in my garden, a lot of those foundation pieces that I had spoke of or are definitely the things that can help set the tone for your garden. Statues, the layering, the multiple colors and textures that you have in your garden can aid you in creating that reminiscence of romance theme for your garden. Not only the plants, but herbs and also art are things that are definitely something to use to create that reminiscence of romance. And the fact, a couple things that I'm working on to add that reminiscence of romance to my garden. Like I said, in my endeavor to create my garden, when you're choosing how you want your garden to reflect your style, a couple things that I'm doing. I'm actually building my own window boxes to help soften up my garden shed. I'm actually doing a climbing rose and clematis combination to add to my shed. And I'm also adding herbs to my garden, and this is the thing. This isn't just about my garden. I'm also looking at how can I create romance even in my vegetable garden. As I envision the components that in my mind make up the reminiscence of romance, like I said, plants, herbs, art. When I think of the plant aspect, having large plants and specific ones that I had mentioned, I believe end up being the foundation for a romantic garden. And what it does, your plant choices can infuse your space with a sense of timelessness and elegance and charm. And then by adding herbs to your garden, I think they create depth, color, and also some repellent benefits for bugs that you can also, by adding those in there, can also add to the feel of your garden, and part of the reason I'm adding herbs is to have a natural deterrent for pests, but while adding aroma, to my garden. And then the other part is art. A lot of times people may not have a water feature or a fireplace or a fire pit or statues becomes a playfulness that features, that you end up featuring. It becomes a canvas of nature's artistry, by having those things. The other thing I take into consideration for the art of gardening, you can make mistakes or make the wrong choices. And just like an artist, with a swipe of their brushstroke, they can change the direction, the vision, the feel of the art piece. And the same thing can apply when gardening.
So the next content creator that I'm going to talk about is Betty. And Betty's channel name on YouTube is called Simple Southern Garden. And she lives in North Carolina just like I do. And she has the same zone as me, Zone 8. But I'm pretty sure we're about 3 hours away from each other. I think she is more coastal. But let's learn about Betty and watch her video.
Hey y'all, my name is Betty and I am Simply Southern Garden. I garden here in North Carolina, Zone 8. So today we're talking about the art of gardening. And gardening has always been something that I've always loved since I was very little. My dad always would give me a little allowance, and I had this cute little L-shaped flower bed and I would plant in it. Then eventually he built me some garden beds, and I just enjoyed growing veggies and all kinds of things. So as I grew up, the gardening kind of went on the back burner, and I became a dental hygienist for over 20 years, and I have 4 children, and my husband is in the Navy. But now I'm getting back to gardening because I've retired from dental hygiene, and we have a beautiful almost 1.2 acres here in North Carolina. So the art of gardening, for me, is being able to use those artistic abilities that I don't normally use every single day. So I am also an Airbnb host, and I have 3 homes. So as you can imagine, this keeps me very, very busy with all the paperwork and guest communications. And so sometimes my days don't feel very artful. But when I get into the garden, I can create. And so this year I am creating a cottage garden, and I'm so excited because I've never done a cottage garden before, but I think it's going to be so beautiful. So these are the different things that I'm thinking about as I'm walking through designing a cottage garden and being very thoughtful in the way that I think about it. So the first thing is adding a fence. So luckily we already have a fence structure here. And so that's going to be the backdrop of my cottage garden. The next thing, if you hear something down below me, these are my little puppies, and we are sitting on some dirt. So the next thing I would be thinking about in this cottage garden is adding some large trees or large shrubs. So the backdrop of the cottage garden is going to be some type of arborvitae. And in front of the arborvitae, we're going to go down in a layer, and we're going to add some hydrangeas. So we've got the fence, the arbs, and then the hydrangeas. So we're working in layers. And then down from there, we're going to add in our large shrubs and our perennials and then our annuals. In between all of the plantings, I want to have some hardscape to help with all those light layers of flowers, and I'm looking at doing some stepping stones. So as I'm designing this garden, I'm trying to take a very artful consideration to how the garden is being designed in layers and also in the color palette. So the color palette that I'm thinking about using are going to be, of course, the green, but also whites, pinks, and purples, and then also little bits of yellow and orange. So I'm going to show you some designs that I'm thinking of, and we'll see what you think. I'm using the app called Canva to design this cottage garden. I started off by adding the arbs against the fence, and these were just imported images from the internet. Now we're going to be adding in the hydrangeas, and those will be in between the arbs. And then next we're going to be adding some of the hardscape of the stepping stones. And these don't have to be the final placement, they're just giving us an idea. Now we're adding the Lady of Shalott David Austin Rose, and some lamb's ear for texture, and the beautiful purple nepeta, and the ornamental onion. and then another David Austin, the Alnwick Rose, and then adding some hostas in the shade area, and then scattering about the garden some lavender and some hollyhocks and some foxgloves. So this is kind of my idea put down onto paper, I guess you'd say, a digital image. So this is what I'm kind of thinking for our cottage garden. Thank you so much, Kim, for letting me share with all your friends today about our beautiful cottage garden. I hope it gave you some inspiration, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, friends.
So the next content creator that I'm going to talk about is Julia. And Julia lives in Canada, and she is a true artist. But a lot of her inspiration does come from her gardening, and then she does like gorgeous landscapes. Like, I fell in love with her artwork, and I think you are too. So make sure you look at Julia's video.
Welcome to my studio. In this video, which is called The Art of Gardening, but in my case, it's kind of called Turning Gardening into Art. I am an avid gardener, and I just love being in my garden in the spring, summer, and fall. It fills my soul. I layer, I use color, I use shape and composition, just like I do in artwork. I'm going to show you in this video, I'll do a few of my summer photos, possibly videos, so I can show you where I live and what I do. I live in Ontario. I garden in zone 6 or 7. I'm not quite sure because I live down at Lake Ontario, and the zone is a lot warmer here than, say, even 20 minutes away. So I garden and I take a lot of photos in the summer, and I use those photos all winter. So here's an example. This is a photo from my garden. Obviously it was last spring. And I love planting tulips. I've planted so many more this fall, and I've gone and made it bigger. I've had so much fun in the studio. So this painting bigger was honestly a little bit harder to do than this little 10 by 10. This little 10 by 10 was fresh and fun and big strokes, and it was easy to fill the canvas. And then I used this as my muse to build this painting. And it's turning out because I am determining that it's going to turn out. And I have been working it and reworking it and coming back into the gallery, into the studio, and doing it. So I'm going to show you, I'll back up and I'll show you a little bit about it. I think I did the, yes I did. I will put in the video, the speeded up video of color blocking it, and then I'll show you the end. But indulge me, I am going to show you my garden, and we're going to end up back here in the studio checking out the painting that came from my garden. Here we are back in my studio, checking out the large 36 by 48 painting of the tulips that you saw at the beginning of the video from my garden. I hope you've enjoyed this video. You'll see more of my garden come spring. I'm going to be out there checking out probably daily if anything's growing. And it's only 8.8 weeks until spring. And I'm so excited to see what's going to come up because I planted, like I said, 1 million new tulips. And have a great winter. Enjoy the little bit of solitude and quiet that you have before the gardening season starts. Make sure you get rested too because spring's coming. We got some gardening to do. We got some painting to do. And the garden, again, I hope is your inspiration.
So the next content creator that we're going to talk about is Emily. Emily is on Instagram and her Instagram page is I am Emily Williams. And she is also going to start her YouTube here soon. And her YouTube channel is going to be called The Scent of a Garden. I think that's a real pretty name. And she gardens in 10B. So let's check out Emily's garden.
Hi, welcome to my backyard. My name is Emily and I live in Southern California, Zone 10B, Sunset Zone 22. So it's a busy day in the backyard today. There is tree trimming happening and of course all of the beautiful sounds of nature. So just letting you know, just in case you hear some random sounds, you know where they're coming from. So when I think about the art of gardening, it takes me back to being a new homeowner. And the backyard was my selling point. It was a blank canvas of St. Augustine lawn framed by a fortress of ficus trees on 2 sides and palm trees on my neighbor's side. So it was a little intimidating for my gardening skills and my design skills at that time. My journey into gardening started with the front patio and container gardens. And container gardens have a formula of the thriller, the filler, and the spiller. And that structure was my gateway. I started playing with color and texture and shapes and placement and styles, all to create a mood or a feeling that I wanted to experience when I entered my front door, and that I wanted my friends, family, guests that were coming over and entering through the front door. How did I want them to feel? So that was my starting point, was container gardening. And then I received feedback from an unexpected source who visited my home almost daily, and that was my postal carrier. So one day when I was home, he gave me feedback and said that he enjoyed delivering mail to my home and entering through the front door because it made him happy. And so I just said, I was just thrilled to receive that feedback, and it let me know that I was on the right track, because that is exactly what I wanted anyone to feel that was coming to knock on my front door. So there, my creative confidence got a boost. Next, my neighbor knocked on my front door, and she invited me to be her competitor on a television show. I mean, it's Los Angeles. Who's not on a television show, right? So she invited me to be her competitor on a show that has since been canceled, but it was a great show, so I don't know why. It was on HGTV called Ground Rules. That was the name of the show. And the premise of the show was 2 neighbors competed for the title of Best Landscape. And the show matched the homeowners with a landscape designer, and to collaboratively, a landscape designer to collaboratively create a landscape design. The show provided the plants and loaned the tools. The homeowner provided the labor for the installation. So that was friends, family, whoever, you needed people that were strong and could really think on their feet and were creative. So for me, I enlisted the help of friends who are artists and one engineer. Together, we tackled 3 areas: the pergola, a fence between my neighbor and my home needed cozying up, and we added a water feature in the back. And those were areas that the landscape designer and I planned together. And the installation had to happen within 1 day. So my backyard, those 3 areas, earned the title of Best Landscape. So we were very excited about that, and I still have the trophy in my backyard because that was a very memorable experience. Really, it was a win-win because the consultations with the landscape designer really gave me the creative confidence to tackle my backyard with thinking about how I wanted the space to function, how I wanted the space to feel. I also learned about the aesthetic in the garden that would help me encourage those feelings of joy and peace and surprise and whimsy in my garden, and to create the spaces and experiences that I wanted to have and that I wanted my guests to have who visited my backyard. So a shout out to my friends who were a tremendous help, and shout out to HGTV for that show. I really think you should bring it back because, like I said, it was a win-win. So if I had to name or put a label on my garden aesthetic, it would be eclectic. I don't limit myself to just one because I borrow from a variety of styles. So when you visit my garden, you will find elements of country and cottage and certainly tropical and native and Mediterranean to contemporary. Because again, there's no need to limit yourself. If you have the soil and sun conditions, have at it. They all have something to contribute, and like I said, that contrast and mix of style make it visually appealing. So that's how I would describe my aesthetic in the garden. Another element that is very important to me in my gardens is fragrance. So when you visit my garden, you will see that the big features are flowers, foliage, and fragrance. Fragrance it just transforms the experience. Those 3 elements help to convey what I want to experience and what I want my guests to experience in my backyard. So in my experience, the art of gardening is a process and a result, if you will, or a destination, even though any gardener that you meet all will tell you they are never done. Any artist really says that, right? And you may start with a plan. I start with a plan. Like I said, I started with thriller, filler, spiller. But that plan was a starting point. What's important about any journey, and especially an artistic one or a creative journey, is to lean into the process and really start to listen to your intuition and your voice, because it's through that experimentation and that willingness to play, that willingness to take risks and try things out, make some mistakes, fail forward, as they say. Through that process, through that journey, you start to find your creative voice and trust it. Trust your creative voice, trust your creative confidence. That's what happened to me. And then you truly find the joy in the art of gardening. And you will be surprised by where the art of gardening journey takes you. And you will stand back and look at your work and just be amazed at that. You'll be amazed at the partnership between you and nature, oh my gosh, and what you create. So with that, I invite you to keep in touch. You can follow me on Instagram at I am Emily Williams. In February, I am launching my own YouTube channel, At the Scent of a Garden. That's the title, At the Scent of a Garden. I'm getting used to saying that myself. That will be coming to you with love from my backyard, side yard, front yard, all the garden spaces. So I look forward to seeing you there. And I hope you get a chance to get outside and enjoy the fragrance and the fresh air.
And the next content creator that I'm going to talk about, her name is Lynn, and she is on Instagram, and her page is called @JustLynnPurse. And I'll throw the title up there for you. And she is unique because she likes music and nature. She's actually a music composer as well, and she incorporates that into her videos. So let's check out Lynn.
Hello everybody, and welcome to my garden. Today is a collaboration with several other gardeners across the country on the topic of the art of gardening. And I chose this time to do mine on the color in the garden. I garden in southwest Pennsylvania, and this is my circle garden. It's all fenced in from the deer, and it's where I play with color. Every garden bed has a different name according to the color that I'm using in it. My pink and yellow garden was inspired by the Bleeding Heart Gold Heart, and it features gold foliage with pink flowers. The daylilies pick up that color theme and carry it into the summer. I love blush pink, whether it's the stamens in a white flower or the soft pinks of roses, the delicate blooms of a weeping cherry tree, and the soft petals of my favorite tulip, Angelique, which inspired me to take it into the studio and take some photos of it. The soft colors continue into the summer in the daylilies and the poppies. There's so many shades of pink, and they can all blend together, or you can add a little contrast in darker pinks and even in dark foliage. Daylily Etched Eyes was a color inspiration for me, and I created a whole bed called the Grape and Lemonade bed using those colors. You can never underestimate the power of foliage in creating a color palette. This is my hillside garden in the spring. The same burgundy and gold palette carries through the summer. And it even provides a backdrop for some of the flowers. Coleus is a quick and easy way to add foliage color to show off your flowers. And they make a statement all by themselves as well. Pure white flowers are hard to find, but they really add an impact to the garden. My white crescent garden is filled with Annabelle hydrangea, which really show off from a distance when they're in bloom, even at night. Many white flowers have yellow centers, so it's fun to play with those too. In the spring, in June, and in July and August. The plum and pewter part of the garden is filled with soft gray foliage, plum foliage, and lots of plum-colored flowers. Paint can really change the mood of a garden. We painted our fence a dark bronze color. By July, it was stunningly dramatic. And in October, when the foliage changed, it was even more dramatic. The point of all this is to have fun with color. Experiment, look at what your flowers are telling you, and play with it. There are no wrong choices.
So hey gardening friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some inspiration. I so loved collaborating with these ladies and getting to know these ladies on a more personal level, just like I like to get to know you on a more personal level as well. So if you're interested in subscribing to these ladies' channels, just go to more and I will link all their channels, and that's all you have to do is click on it and then you can go and subscribe to their channel as well. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so because it helps me tremendously. And like I said, it lets YouTube know that I'm doing a good job and lets me know that I'm doing a good job for you. And make sure you like my video as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.